Welcome to From Click to Client, where we transform a confusing message into a clear, compelling story that sells. I'm your host, Kris Jones, StoryBrand marketing expert. I'm here to help you attract more dream clients with the power of story. It is my great pleasure to introduce you all to the amazing Bill Zipp. Bill was a client of mine several years ago now, and he was just such a delight to work with. And I feel like we really bonded in our journey of working together and really transforming your messaging, up-leveling your brand. I was just actually looking at your headshot yesterday because I was at the website of the photographer that I use, and I saw that beautiful photo that headshot that we took of you. So anyway, I just want to welcome you to the show. Bill Zipp helps hardworking sales managers become better leaders through his people-centered approach to performance. He helps his clients achieve double-digit growth and beyond. So Bill, welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I got started in this wonderful adventure of consulting over 22 years ago, believe it or not.
Wow.
I was really, really bored with my day job. And so I wanted to get started in consulting. It's super funny. I got a funny story. My wife and I talked about it for a long time, and we announced it to the kids. And my oldest daughter said to us, "You don't want to do that. I want to go to college." So she was pretty sure that we wouldn't do that well, but it was the best decision I've ever made. And although there's hard years up and down, so I've been in it long enough to where the great financial meltdown, that happened 2007, 2008. And then, of course, COVID, and there's been other things. So there have been ups and downs, but other than those things, it's been so much fun.
Tell me, what was the process for you of really jumping off that cliff of paycheck from month to month, employment to, being completely self-employed? And it sounds like you talked to your wife about it. And what was that process like for you to make that
Well,
shift?
at first it was foolish. So I'm one of these people that I'll jump off a cliff and then figure it out on the way down. So at first it was really foolish. We had savings, of course, but that's about the only wise thing we did. So, and I really tend to say, the market is going to tell you what you need to do. And so really you could sit in an office and create a wonderful plan, but it's really real life. And so I went out and I coached any and everyone. This person and that person, small business and personal coaching, this and that. And in that process, I really learned who I worked really, really well with and who got the best results from my work. And so the last 10 years is about narrowing that target and narrowing that target and narrowing that target, knowing that focus of who I serve best. And for me, that has made all the difference in the world.
And so now your clientele is really specifically sales managers.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, exactly. Very, very specifically. I found I could not compete in the sales training space. Just Google sales training. There's thousands and thousands of sales trainers and books and training programs, and I just couldn't compete there. I have some ideas about that, and sometimes I'll end up doing some side work related to that, but it's not my thing. And I also discovered through working with a client actually on sales training that and I'll say to my clients now, if you roll out sales training and you don't train the managers, you're training your competition. Because if those salespeople have a bad manager, they will leave your company. And so that's kind of what I've learned. And first I stumbled into it, and then I've leaned into it heavily because leadership affects everything.
Oh, 100%. And I think that statement is just so true, and it's so strong and profound. And what a wonderful way to make your point and make your case for why you're doing this work.
Yes.
When you talk to a potential client on the phone, what mistakes are they making, and what are they really struggling with?
Yeah. So there's pain. And as you know, right, the hero would be completing the quest if it wasn't for the pain, the stuff that gets in the way. And so my clients, and that's why the word hardworking is in our positioning statement. My clients are working harder, longer for less money than they made as a sales rep. As a sales rep, they sold, and if they were above goal, they were fine. Took Friday off, or Friday afternoon off, and but then they thought, hey, it'd be a great idea to be a manager, and now they're working harder, longer for less money, and so the problem is they haven't made the shift in their head that no, you're a leader. And as a leader, you multiply yourself and others. You're not a super rep running here and running there and running here and running there, trying to rescue as Superman the deals or the salespeople. And so really helping this pain of working harder, longer for less money, helping them really learn how to lead. And when they learn how to lead, life becomes much easier.
And so you talk to them on the phone and you're listening to them, their complaints, and they're probably like, why did I ever
Yeah.
make this transition? And this is not sustainable. I'm burning out.
Yeah.
And what happens next? Do they, you know, I'm curious how you position your offer and how
Yes.
they move into an engagement with you.
Yeah, so mostly I'm not talking to my client. I'm talking to my client's manager. And so the frontline manager that's struggling like this doesn't have budget for it. And some will pay me out of their own pocket, but they don't have budget for it. I'll talk often with a CEO or a chief revenue officer, a CRO that's watching burnout in their sales reps, or they're watching revenue not grow because of this working harder, longer, and I had just explained to them just the wheel, the wheel that go round and round and round and round, and they've probably lost some salespeople, and they've had a few managers burn out, and it just makes sense to get help.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so the people I tend to work with aren't the client that buys my services. And I know
Mhm.
that's a tricky dance, but I'll have an engagement with 6 coaching clients where one C-level executive will sign off on.
Got it. Yeah, it is. It's tricky, but then ultimately, once they commit, then you've got a
Yeah.
bunch of people you get to work with. One
Yes.
one of the things that we talked about in your messaging, and this came from you, was this idea of like pressing the more button. Stop
Yes.
pressing the more button. Tell
Yes.
us about what that means.
Well, it's funny. So I didn't make that up. So I think your best wording comes from your clients. And someone just told me that said, you know what, you've helped me to stop press the more button. And that's what sales managers tend to do. More calls, more meetings, and they press the more button as opposed to pressing the Y button. And the Y button gets down to motivation and meaning and relationship and connection. And when you press the Y button, you get more. When you press the more button, you don't get anything. After a while, just people. And so that was language someone shared with me, and then I've made it part of my thing.
Isn't that great? Like that we don't have to always invent
Yeah.
the words that we use. I tell my clients this all the time, like really think back to the calls that you're having with potential clients. In their words, we want to meet them where they are and
Yes.
use the language that they use.
Yes.
I think as coaches, we can often like we're living and breathing this work all the time, so we can
Yeah.
use language and lingo, and we understand the nuances of the problem in a way that they don't even yet understand, so we can talk over people.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
simple statement just says so much. And you talk a lot about using more of a people-centered
Yes.
approach. And tell me what does that actually mean?
Well, I ultimately salespeople are people. It's hard to believe, but they're people. And so if you're going to get sales, you need to have people skills. They need to trust you. They need to believe in you. You need to know what motivates them and have a connection with them. And so now people's not everything. I mean, ultimately you have to deliver on the number, but you deliver on the number through people rather than, again, more and more and more and more and more. And so I always get started first with trust and relationship and connection and motivation, and that triad we worked on together, that motivate and multiply, so moving from the inside out. So
Mm. And
motivate, mobilize, multiply. I forgot my own stuff.
yeah,
Motivate, mobilize, multiply,
yes,
but it's from the inside out,
rings. Yep.
and you ultimately you have to hit the number, but you hit the number through your people, not by driving them.
Yeah, I think you make such a good point. I mean, of course, for your industry, but really for anyone listening, this idea of in order to make a sale, really, you don't focus on the sale. You focus on the relationship, that trust, that connection. It's really around
Yeah.
that relationship. And I like to tell my clients, you're not trying to pressure them into saying yes. You're trying to guide them to a decision that's right for them.
Yes.
And if it's
Yes.
no, that is no, not necessarily worse than a yes. You don't
Yeah.
want to you don't want to work with someone who's
Yes.
internally a no, but telling you yes. So,
Yes. And this is what I refer to as selling by serving.
mm,
And so selling by serving involves beginning to serve the client even before they have a financial relationship with you. And so it's providing an upfront assessment for free. It's providing important pieces of intellectual property for free. It's front loading your client experience into the sales process. And for me, selling feels more authentic, and it has less sleaze to it, because really all I'm doing in the selling process is giving help. And if there's a connection in the course of giving help, we end up working together.
right. And what's beautiful about that is the person that you're helping actually gets to experience you solving a
Yes.
micro or small problem for them,
Yes.
and they build that confidence because they have that experience. Oh, Bill helped me solve this problem, so if he can help me solve
Yes.
this problem, he can help me
Yes.
solve this problem.
Yes.
And what I love about that is, like, as entrepreneurs, we really do, we're wired to want to help. This is why
Yes.
we're in the service business. We genuinely
Exactly.
want to help people. And what that does is begins the relationship with generosity.
Yes.
And then they get this sense, as humans, we do this. When someone helps us, we feel a sense of reciprocity. And so then we want to
Yeah.
also, they want to help us too. And so for the right fit,
Yes.
then we get to work
And I
together.
can
Yeah.
I can count on one hand in over 20 years, with a few fingers left, people that took advantage of that.
Right.
That there will be people that will have multiple free sessions and never do anything, but very few people. There will be people, and you set a few boundaries, and you don't do 6 free coaching sessions. You don't even do
Right.
more than 2, maybe. But mostly people will honor that and respect that. And it may still be a no. A person may say no, which is fine, but at least you felt you gave first rather than to get.
Right. And then also, if a year from now
Yeah.
they've got this problem and they're ready wanting to solve it, you are top of mind
Yes.
when they're
Yes.
ready. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How does this look for your business? This idea of your lead magnet, or like, how do you solve these micro problems for free? What's your
Well,
way of doing that?
I I think right now we have to figure out how to go to our clients. I think inbound is oversaturated, and in the last few years, no one's signing up for an email newsletter. No one's subscribing to my YouTube channel. It's a great YouTube channel, but no one's subscribing it. It's not happening anymore. So inbound is broken. It's oversaturated, and people are crazy busy, so they're not doing that. We need to figure out how to go to them. This right here is a perfect example of going to them. And so if my clients were coaches who wanted to learn how to sell their services, I'd want to I'm doing this as a favor to you. But podcasts are a great way to go to people. I think speaking is a great way to go to people. I think upfront assessments, offering an upfront assessment is a great way to go to people. And then something I call referrals in reverse. And we all know about asking for a referral. People are too busy. They won't give you referrals. They won't think about it. They won't get. So what you do is LinkedIn's great for research. Go research the kind of client you want, and then ask, hey, can I reach out to this person and use your name? I
Mm.
cannot tell you how many times I've warmed up the call by saying, hey, Kris Jones told me that we should talk with each other. And that's kind of a referral in reverse. I didn't make Kris Jones to do all the research. I did the research of this person that has a great fit, who, oh, by the way, is connected with Kris.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's really brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on an outbound week, on a week where I may have a half a dozen to a dozen of those things. Kris Jones suggested we talk.
Yeah. And you typically get a response.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you don't. I mean, that's the depressing things about it. There is no magic bullet, but I'll get a response 2 or 3 times out of 10,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
then,
that's good. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's better than a 3% open rate, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
everyone's crazy busy, and there's
Yeah.
no magic bullet, you know.
Totally. Yep. You got to put the time in
Right.
and the work in. And,
Yes.
the thing I encourage people to do is really put the time and energy into something that you actually enjoy doing, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
a quick message on LinkedIn takes little to no time. You've got to do a little
Yeah.
bit of research up front, but podcasting, like this is an
Yes.
hour-long conversation, but what a
Yes.
what a wonderful way. I would I would want to have this conversation whether we were recording it or not, right? It
Exactly.
feels fun and effortless to me. So
Yeah.
that's kind of one thing I've leaned into just because I find it enjoyable. You don't
Yeah.
have to do the things that feel like drudgery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, and this is where you help me so much. This is because what was happening is I know how to do all that stuff. I know how to do referrals in reverse and reach out to people. And I have the thick skin where I can send 20 emails in a day and not cry at the end of the day when no one's returned them. So I'm comfortable with that. It's fine. I did it as a salesperson. What would happen is people would go to my website and it was a train wreck. And so you do all this work to go, or you'd speak or do a webinar or do a podcast. Well, where are they going to go? They're going to go to 2 places in this order: LinkedIn and your website. And people would go to my website and it was a mess, an absolute mess. And it was unprofessional. And so really what these assets do is they establish credibility. And you go to my website now and you go, whoa, all right, he knows what he's talking about. And I do, but I couldn't prove it before.
Right. And then your LinkedIn profile we updated and
Yes.
refined. So when
Yes.
they go to your LinkedIn and then they go to your website, it's all saying the same thing, which builds
Exactly.
trust and credibility. The
Yes.
brand, the brand's the same. Like it feels
Yes.
like you have taken the time to show
Yes.
up online in a
Yes.
professional way. And that like those warm leads, if they listen to you on a podcast or listen to you at a talk that you give. You're right. I mean, that website is the center of your marketing universe.
Yes.
Everyone's going to go there. They're either going to go there warm and then continue to reach out to you, or they're going to go there warm and turn cold like they were doing
Yes.
with your old
Yes.
website. Yeah.
So I don't think I ever told you this story, but I had a perfect client, and I had worked weeks and weeks and weeks. I met with the CEO, I met with the sales team, I prepared a proposal, the whole 9 yards. It was great. And it was a great client. I'd be coaching a half a dozen people, which is kind of a sweet spot. It's a big enough contract. And so I went into the final meeting where the owner of the company came and the final review. And she sat down in a conference room and she had printed every page of my website. And
Wow.
she went page by page by page through it and said, this isn't sales. Well, this isn't sales. What's this blog post on getting in shape? That's not sales. And when she goes, you're not what we need.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was so mad. Oh my. I was so mad. So I went home and screamed and shouted and went to bed and woke up the next day and said, all right, got to fix this problem.
Right. Right. You only learn that lesson one
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
Right.
oh yeah. It was just like, oh man. Oh, who prints every page of a website? There's stuff in there I didn't know was there. And she goes, yeah,
Totally.
you can't help us. None of
Oh.
this stuff says what you do.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
that was like, all right, got to fix this.
Yeah, yeah, by the time you came to me, you were really motivated to
Yeah.
turn things around, clean things up,
Yeah.
get really clear on how you present yourself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and
But here's funny. I was clear on, I knew who I reached and I knew I was good at it. And so you can't write a story for someone that doesn't know that information, you know. And so what you really helped me do is write the story for the kind of client I knew I was really, really good at.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
that's what's super important is I knew I wasn't going to do sales training. I knew that was a black hole for me.
Right.
Because I couldn't compete. But sales leaders, yeah, most sales training tag on, a 30-minute session on sales management. So I knew I had that wonderful gap in the marketplace I could exploit, and I needed someone to tell that story, not for me, but using the gritty details of my experience to get that into a great story.
Right. Your story is not something that's like written or invented. I really feel like it's already inside your head and your heart, and it's
Yeah.
my job to really
Yeah.
mine for that gold that's
Yes.
already inside
Yes.
yourself. So a lot of my clients, and you included, like their current website or their old website, when they share it with a potential client, they have this feeling of like cringing,
Yeah.
embarrassment. It's not aligned properly with who they are. So it sounds like you really were at that place with your old
Yeah.
website. How
Yeah.
does it feel? What's it feel like now when you're sending someone your link or telling them to go visit your website?
Oh, yeah, it's not, I'm not afraid. Um, I don't, we all lose clients. All right. So not every deal that we're on, but it's not because I look unprofessional, you know. So yeah, but I get more than I don't. So I get much more than I lose, but no, I have no fear that when they go to a website, they're going to get a conflicting message.
Right.
I don't look like that picture though.
Really?
I've aged a little bit, but anyway,
I don't think
just the other
so.
day I was thinking, I wonder if I should redo the photos.
Well, I mean, you certainly can. I'm sure Brian would love to reconnect with you and do another shoot, but you don't look like you've aged in my,
Oh, well, thank you. Those
yeah.
are very kind words.
So you've talked about, you mentioned earlier about this idea of really figuring out what you're going to do based on what people are telling you that they need.
Yeah,
I want to hear how, once you honed in on coaching, because I know when we worked together, even some new offers bubbled up and some new
yeah,
ways of working with clients. How has that evolved from where it was to where it is now around?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's very interesting. Um, I, I thought, and this is where the market teaches you. I really thought that training leaders would have a launch for me, and it just simply hasn't. People, and they've told me this again. No, like for example, I did a huge training 2, 3 years ago at a sales kickoff for the leaders, and do you know what the complaint was? We didn't get enough time with Bill. We want more one-on-one time with Bill because I had this question and I had this question and I had this question. Almost, I almost do no training at all. My work is very customized, very one-on-one with leaders who are very motivated. And so, and then after COVID, I ended up doing this around the world. So, 4 or 5 coaching sessions a day, all around the world, almost every week of the month. It's extremely enjoyable because it's not doing the same thing over and over again,
right.
and you're meeting actual real needs. And so very little now, very little training. And I actually think that's my best foot forward because I'm kind of zingy in a room and, fun and all. But I mean, who wants to travel anymore? I mean, there's all kinds of things that I don't have to do now. And it's a lot more, tons more effective. I think people are looking for bespoke solutions is I think what I've discovered through this. And because every situation is so different that they're looking for something highly customized.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I was literally talking about this earlier today that I think people are burnout, or maybe like a lot of the group work has jumped the shark a little bit. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
people have joined group trainings, programs, and not felt like they got the attention that
Yeah.
they were really hoping for. And the reality is, like, there are probably a dozen different problems that you know how to solve, and people come to you with those over and over again. But everybody feels like their situation is really
Yes.
unique. And in many ways it is, but that's why for my business, I've intentionally kept the one-on-ones because my clients are like, they want
Yes.
they want the deep
Yeah.
work to move the needle.
Yes.
And I love it too. Like I
Yes.
love
Yes.
like going deep and really taking things off their plate for them. Like
Yes.
everyone's working so hard. And if my work can remove things from their plate and give them more energy, more lift, more confidence, then we both feel good at the end of that.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then I don't know if you found this, but I find this every once in a while there's something you've never seen before. It's like, oh my gosh, I've
Yeah.
never seen this before. I need to solve this. And
Yeah.
so some of my greatest content has come from stuff that I'd never seen before, and I'll go out and research and I'll solve it for them. And then it obviously becomes part of your library. Now you don't solve 12, you solve 13 problems or 14, 15 problems. So that's what's fun about the one-on-one work too. Every once in a while you get stumped, and that's great.
It really is great. I have that happen pretty regularly. It happened last week where I was like, wow, this project is taking me a lot longer than
Yeah.
normal because it was a little bit of a different flavor than a lot of clients that I work with. And I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I knew it could be done and I was like chewing on that bone until
Yes.
I figured it
Yes.
out. It's like,
Yes.
ah, yeah.
Yes.
Tell me about a memorable client that you've worked with that doubled or even tripled revenue and how that unfolded.
So I do a lot of work. It's not exclusive yet, but I do a lot of work in Series A and Series B private equity firms. And I didn't seek them out. I kind of stumbled into them. But when private equity chooses to invest in a company, it needs to double or triple in 3 years. They want their money out in 3 years. And so I I help leaders do that through being great leaders, great managers, not being freaked out about that pressure. And it's common now. It's just common now to have that 20% year over year. And mostly because it has to happen. Private equity will pull its funding. And so I did it at Concur, and then I did it at Nintex, and I've done it with Recast, these mostly SaaS software firms that get an injection of money, and enough of the people I've worked with that I get a call when that money rolls in and we get working.
Mm, mm. Yeah, when the pressure's on, you do that. It reminds me of like public construction projects, like when there's a deadline
Yeah,
and when there's like a bonus, if they finish the project by this date,
right.
they'll get it done.
Yes,
If there's
yes,
no bonus, like it could keep
yes.
going and going for months.
Oh, and the narrative that there are these evil public equity firms that are stripping the value, yeah, maybe they exist. I'm sure they do, but that's not what's going on here. These companies are investing money to grow really effective software companies, and this becomes life-changing money.
Mm.
I've worked with people that have will never have to work again because they
Wow.
had a stake in had an equity stake in a company, and so uh, so it can be really life changing. And also, you don't double and triple money by beating up people. And then you rotate a sales staff 1 year and then another sales staff and another. You can't do that. The only way to make that kind of money is have a people-centered approach and helping your people become the very best version of themselves. That's what works in the highest stakes sales organizations.
Mm, that's beautiful. And I think that that trickles down to kind of a business at every level. If you've
Yeah,
got your team,
yeah,
you really want to nurture the team rather than pressure them or push them.
right.
Um,
But
as
we
not
all know we have a number to hit, right? So it's this thing where yeah, and we all know that the board has told us we need to do X by then. So let's go do it and let's have fun and let's be our best. It's interesting, right? Because the number's not irrelevant.
right,
All right. And so, no life-changing money because you have an equity stake in the company that this is real, but you don't get there by freaking out.
right, exactly. And you can, to your point, you can have fun along the
Yes.
way. Doesn't have
Yes.
to be a slog. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, as an entrepreneur, what I want to hear from you is what's one bit of advice that you'd like to share with our listeners about being an entrepreneur and what's helped you do
Yeah.
so well over the
Yeah.
years?
Yeah. The number one thing is get very, very clear on who you serve. And the people you best serve and the work you best do. That made all the difference. I mean, all the difference for me. And then you align everything, LinkedIn and your website and your signature and everything you do. But for me, I was an inch deep and a mile wide, and I was here and there and here and there and here and there. And when I got an inch wide and a mile deep, it doubled and then tripled my business. I got very, very clear on who I serve, who I was best with, and how I help them. And everything flows from that clarity.
It's so good. And I think that you've touched on a common fear around that a lot of coaches have around like, I don't want to leave people out, but I technically I can help this person with this and that person with that. Technically I
Yeah.
can help
Oh
them,
yeah.
but so I don't want
Yeah.
to like not, talk to them, but be very clear about the problem you solve
Yeah.
and who you solve it for. Solve one problem. That's really the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, and yeah, I could coach technically a lot of different people, but the thing is, I'll be a generalist and not a specialist. And is the specialist is where well, for example, you'll discover, oh my gosh, there's this thing going on here right now, and I'll go solve that. I wouldn't find that out if I wasn't a specialist in that area. And then you become, and you just don't become a mile deep, but 2 and 3 and 4 miles deep, and then
Hmm.
so it's really important to get clear. And part of that clarity came from the marketplace. All right. So we don't like, all right, find what you love and do it. Yeah, I guess. But also if what you love everyone else is doing, you got to find something you also love. Because
Right.
so part of that, I mean, some of this was a strategic analysis too. Like, all right, I'm never going to be able to break into the sales training, so finding what you love within the gap that exists in the marketplace is maybe the completion of the sentence.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you really hit the nail on the head earlier when you said you started out just kind of doing a little bit of everything. You tried it
Yeah.
all, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can't skip over that part. Like that's the part of getting your business
True.
going of
Yes.
trying on different outfits, right? Trying out different clients, solving different problems, and then eventually narrowing and narrowing
Yes.
into your
You know what, though? Dudes don't have outfits. I just want you to know
what do dudes have?
that. I don't know, but I think we have clothes. Well, and let me tell you, so there, I learned this lesson very real in the last year or so. So some of my clients have recommended that I work with their CEO. And so this last year I took on 2 or 3 CEO engagements, and none of them got renewed. Um, why? Because that is outside of my focus. I've not been a CEO. I've not worked with a board of investors. I've not been responsible. Everything in my life has been sales management, sales strategy. And I had this pit in my stomach as I was anticipating my coaching sessions with the CEOs. And so I don't do that. I'm not going to do that work anymore, even though I'm
Right.
asked to. I'll go, yeah, but I'll recommend you to someone. And so I kind of migrated out of my inch wide,
Yeah.
mile deep, and the company didn't collapse or anything, but I didn't have my best foot forward, and I don't believe I served my clients well.
Right, right. You dipped your toe into kind of new territory to try it out. And if it had worked, great. That could have been an
Yeah.
expansion for you. But you got to follow the body telling you
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no, right?
Yeah.
That pit in
No.
your stomach. Yeah.
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 Exactly right.
Yeah.
Something I get sales. It's intuitive to
Right.
me, not
Right.
so much meeting with your board of investors.
So I'm revising my outfit metaphor
That's awesome.
to an IPA metaphor. You tasted some different
There you go.
IPAs.
Yeah.
You tasted a Belgian and you
Yeah.
said, "No,
Yep.
I'm going back to my IPAs."
Exactly. Exactly. Then you tasted a sweet IPA and said, no, no, I don't.
I want the hops.
I don't want the hops.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So, no, trying on an outfit's just fine. I was giving you a hard time.
I know. All right, Bill, it has been such a delight to talk with you today. Tell my listeners where we can find you.
Oh, BillZipp.com, two P's, BillZipp.com. It's not hard. I was blessed with a weird name.
And you have been very consistent with your branding over the years. I revisited everything before our conversation today, and you've stuck to the plan, and I think it's working for you.
Well, because you get bored, and that's not, no, you get bored and then change everything. No, a long walk in the same direction.
Yeah, you trust the messaging. You did the work. We did the work together. Trust the messaging and let it do the work for you. Don't spend your time refining, tweaking.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly
Stay the
right.
course. Cool. All right, Bill, thank you again for your time today.
Thanks so much. See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Is your website turning away potential clients? I can help you turn that around. Book a money-making messaging call with me today, and we'll transform your story into your most powerful sales tool. That's all for this episode of From Click to Client. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. I'm Kris Jones, and I'll see you next time.